Well, I have a gripe. First of all, I sat down there, and nobody come up and asked me for my autograph. I look around, and here they want the football players' autographs, the wrestlers' autographs, and the basketball autographs. So I got to tell Joe that I got news for him. Pat appeared to me the other night, and he said, Tom, he said, I got good and bad news for you. He says, the good news is there's baseball in heaven. The bad news, he said, you tell Paterno and Chuck Knotts that there's no football in heaven. It's too rough. Then I have some news for Chalice and Skip Hughes. Pat told me they're taking their case up next week. Well, thank you, Stan. It is a pleasure. Can you all hear me? It is a pleasure and an honor for me to present the first baseball inductee into the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame. First, Pat Malone. Before going on, I would like to congratulate the other initial inductees in the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame. First, Pat Malone is our native son and was born in Altoona in 1902. I'm not going to go to talk about statistics, which I understand are in the program. However, I would like to point out that Pat Malone played 10 years in the major leagues, 7 in the National and 3 in the American. Pat led the National League in strikeouts in 1929 with 166 while playing for the Chicago Cubs under the managership of Joe McCarthy. He played 7 years with the Cubs and 3 years with the Yankees. During that time, he played in 4 World Series, 2 with the Cubs and 2 with the Yankees. Pat played most of his career under Joe McCarthy, who still holds the record for the most World Series games. Joe McCarthy said, and I quote, Pat Malone is a great morale builder as well as being a great pitcher. One of the reasons Joe McCarthy took Pat from the Cubs to the Yankees was because he was a good man to have on a ball club. My first recollection of Pat Malone was when I was making an Eastern trip with the Cleveland Indians in 1935, and he was with the Yankees. I went to the Yankee dressing room and asked Blondie Ryan, the shortstop, if I could see Pat Malone. Ryan said, do you know Pat Malone? I said, no. He said, go in and the guy talking the loudest will be Pat Malone. Sure enough, when I went in, Pat Malone was holding court with the other members of the Yankee ball team. Pat introduced me to some of the other Yankee ball players, such as Gehrig, Crosetti, Lazzari, and Bill Dickey, and a few of the other greats. And then he asked about some of his close friends in Altoona, namely Dick Conlon, Harley Lamont, and about the kid catcher, Freddie Del Grosso. Incidentally, Pat used to work out with Freddie before going to spring training. After our meeting in the locker room, I was working out and taking infield practice with the team. Pat kept hollering and offering words of encouragement to the boy from Altoona. This was typical of Pat Malone. I remember walking down 11th Avenue with Pat one day during the off-season, and a group of kids approached Pat for his autograph. After signing their bubblegum cards whenever they had, Pat invited them into Sitnick's drugstore for a treat. I realized then that Pat had a special affection for children. I've given you a brief narrative of my relationship with Pat. I'm sure many of you have other memories of him. So at this time, I would like to introduce to you Mrs. Patricia Moss, daughter of Pat Malone from Tallahassee, Florida.